Barbie hits $1.8 billion at the global box office. Welcome back to the trading floor, guys. I'm with Tom today, and we're looking at an article that's just come out that is saying that Barbie is at $1.8 billion and Oppenheimer is nearing $650 million. Tom, these movies have gained a lot of money in a time where Hollywood hasn't really been making a lot of money. What are your thoughts on this?
I mean, I think it's pretty remarkable, to be fair, to gross any amount of considerable amount of money at the box office is a good achievement, but to gain $1.18 billion in such a short period of time is pretty crazy, especially like you said, with obviously everything going on in Hollywood, things like writer strikes and I guess people potentially boycotting certain films and things like that. I think it's a pretty amazing achievement, as well the fact that obviously they've done differently in terms of results. Barbie's obviously done significantly better in terms of the amount of revenue it's received, but both films have received a significant amount of viewers and people going to see it. $650 million is still a lot of money for a film, and they've come out pretty much at the same time, right? So they're not really competing against each other, because I guess they're for sort of different audiences, but for them both to do that well and come out at very similar times, it shows I guess the market could potentially be changing in terms of cinemas and films and things. Yeah,
I think Barbie was always going to do better than Oppenheimer, because there's that minimum age for Oppenheimer. I think it's a 15 maybe, and Barbie is obviously a universal PG movie. But either way, they're both doing really well in a time where Ant-Man Quantumania I don't think did very well. Guardians of the Galaxy did well, but these two summer blockbusters have done really well for themselves. And it was what year did Maverick come out? Top Gun.
Last year,
because that did really well as well. Yeah, and that did brilliant. So obviously these summer movies still have a lot of hype in them, a lot of people wanting to go to the cinema and experience a summer movie. But there is still a lot of movies that are coming out this year and last year, and everything since really after COVID, where people have got a lot more used to staying at home and just streaming a movie. There's still a lot of movies that aren't making a lot of money because people are just being socialized just to say, oh, I'll just stay at home and watch it when it comes on streaming. Yeah,
I think it's an interesting point about Top Gun. I think that's slightly different compared to Barbie, in the fact that obviously it's the second version of the film, and the first film did so well and has a lot of hype with it. I think that was always going to do well. It was a film that it's sort of like a destination film in a way, isn't it? People will go to the cinema to watch that film because they like the first one so much, whereas I think Barbie was slightly different in the fact that no one really knew what to expect. I think one of the things that potentially could have helped Barbie is actually some of the negative publicity, or I guess just a significant amount of publicity that was actually done. It was in the news a lot, should this be right, all the, I guess, the themes and potentially political aspects in the film itself that, got on news headlines and TV shows and talk shows and all of that. People were discussing it before the film even came out, whether they thought it was a good film, or I guess the ideas in it, whether they agreed with it or not. And things like that will always make people aware of the film. Like if you hadn't seen that film was coming out and then you saw people talking about it, you could say, oh, I didn't know about that, I really like Barbie, I'll go watch it. I think the other thing to obviously mention is that potentially the audience is slightly different. If someone said Barbie, you would initially think it's like a kid's cartoon type film, but obviously it's completely different from that, and I think it will actually appeal to a lot larger audience than potentially could have happened if they chose to take it a different way, and that's obviously shown by the results that came out.
Yeah, it could be said that the Barbie movie, because it had a bit of controversy around it of people saying, is this right, is this wrong, or whatever. It could be said that could have helped the movie gain more money, because now people are like, why is this movie that just seems like a fun family movie riling up so many people online? Personally, I mean, I know you haven't seen it, Tom, but we were talking about this before we started recording. I said I didn't like it. I thought there were some funny aspects in it. I think the first half was great, it was funny, and the second half just was bad. But I still would recommend people to see it because I still think it's an interesting watch. But Oppenheimer, oh my god, Oppenheimer was an amazing movie, and that definitely deserves all the praise that it's getting. Even though it didn't earn as much as Barbie, it's still an amazing movie, and I think it only costed them $100 million to make, So if you say 100 million budget and then probably about 100 million, what's the word? 100 million
advertising.
Marketing. Yeah, that's it. 100 million marketing. They've already gained like 400 million, which is great. I think Barbie did a similar amount. I think Barbie also costed about 100 million to make, and it also probably about 100 million marketing. A lot of these big blockbuster movies, they spend about 100 million on marketing. So both of them are doing insanely well at the moment. But then you compare it to another movie that's come out recently, which is The Meg 2, and The Meg 1 wasn't that amazing of a movie, but it still was a, you know, stupid fun family movie, kind of family. It's about a shark eating people. But the Meg 2 came out, and that only made 43 million. I'm not sure what the budget was on that.
It was 208.
208. Oh no, sorry, 403 from overseas territories. Yeah, 202 million. So even that, I'll have to look up what the budget was on that. I'll have a look at that now. But that probably has either made a little bit of profit or just about broken even right now. I'll double check that right now.
I think overall it still shows that people are still very much invested in the cinema, because that's the only way you can watch these films, right? I mean, to generate over $1 billion at the global box office in, like, what was it? I think it was less than 20 days, maybe like 17 days. I'm not sure to be exact, but to generate that much money, and you physically have to go and watch it, you know, there's no way to watch it online. It's not like Disney Plus did, was it, for like Black Widow and other films, where you could pay,
yeah.
It was like, was it like £10 extra on top of your Disney Plus subscription to get the film on Disney Plus, and you could watch it.
And that was a whole
home.
can of worms.
I
think it was Scarlett Johansson's suit,
isn't it? But I think to generate that much revenue, but I think it's also quite good that the films almost came out at the same time, because every video you watch, like if you watch a YouTube video about Barbie or Oppenheimer, they combine the two, not necessarily from a review perspective, but you know, if other people are doing different videos associated with the films, they're combining the two, which is almost showing that they're completely different audiences in a way. Someone might like one, someone might like the other, but they're both watching both, which might not necessarily have happened, but because they're both very, very good films, people are still watching it. I think the other important thing to mention as well is the fact that Margot Robbie actually produced Barbie, or her film studios or were involved in however aspect of it, but to be able to, I guess, be the star of the movie and produce it to such a level is pretty incredible.
Yeah, and it was a meme as well. It was a meme to merge the two together, Barbenheimer and Oppenbarmy and whatever. It was all over Instagram and YouTube and stuff. So immediately the two movies were marketing themselves just because people were memeing it together. And now people are saying like a company is going to start doing this, like some stupid other marketing where next summer or this Christmas, when two big movies are coming out at the same time, are these companies going to start trying to force two movies together and think, oh, these people can make memes out of merging these two movies? I don't think that's the case. I think this is just a strictly, maybe not a one-time thing, but it is kind of, the joke in it is the fact that Barbie's meant to be this whole happy family movie, and then you just, right next to it, you've just got one of the greatest tragedies in human history put right next to each other in the cinema, and that's where the joke came from online. So I hope movie studios don't try force this with, say, maybe Wonka, which is coming out this Christmas, which will probably do pretty well, and whatever other movie, because, you know, when a company sees that something works, they just keep trying to do it as much as possible, because obviously we want to try and make money from it. But
yeah, I'm not sure whether it's intentional or whether they're trying to appeal to some other aspect though. But even with Wonka, there's controversy regarding the Oompa Loompa, right? Like they're saying that it's done by CGI, whereas, you know, the other previous Charlie and the Chocolate Factory was done by an actual actor. They then obviously didn't they like recreate the same person like 100 times? So it was actually only one actor who played one Oompa Loompa. They duplicated it with CGI. But there's that controversy whether should it be an actor or should it be CGI? Yeah, whatever you believe is your opinion in that. But again, it's creating discussions, right? Like someone might have not seen about the Wonka film coming out. They've seen people talking about this. They start having discussions about it and think, well, actually, I had no idea this film was coming out, but now I do. I'm going to go watch it because I like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Yeah, it's those sort of things that I don't know whether they're intentionally doing that from a marketing perspective or to try and create discussions in that way. I probably don't think they are. It's just the result of what's being done. But if you can do that to increase the revenue of the movies and people are getting more interested in films, then why not? I guess it's definitely helping films, whether it's intentional or not.
Yeah, I would have actually loved to seen Wonka be a dark, because obviously Wonka is a prequel to Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and I would have loved to see it be a dark series or a dark movie, be quite edgy and dark, but obviously it's a family movie and stuff like that. But I always thought that would be quite an interesting idea for Wonka, because he is almost this weird, crazy guy, and you could create such a good story if you went a bit dark with it. But obviously, it's a family movie and it's for Christmas time and it's for kids and everything. But the movie looks alright to me. I think the acting at the moment, from what I see from the trailer, I looked at it and I was just kind of watching Timothée Chalamet, and I like Timothée Chalamet. He's been doing some good stuff and he's a good actor. But when I was watching it, I was kind of thinking I'm watching Timothée Chalamet acting. I'm not feeling that he's Willy Wonka compared to other roles that he's been in.
I think it's very hard to... I mean, the first Willy Wonka was amazing. It came out a very long time ago. And I guess the cinematography is very different than it is now. But I think for most people, if you asked who played Willy Wonka in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, they wouldn't know it was Johnny Depp. Like, if you looked at Johnny Depp and you looked at Willy Wonka, you wouldn't almost think it was him because of how good he is at playing the role.
Yeah.
Like, you wouldn't even be able to tell. Even just by listening to his voice, you probably wouldn't be able to tell. Whereas if you look to him in, like, Crimes of Grindelwald or something, the Fantastic Beasts series, you can sort of tell it's more him. But if you look at it from Willy Wonka, you wouldn't have a clue. Which is, like you said, it shows the character in a different way because of how he could express it. But I think if you're going further back and they're a bit more, I guess, of a kid, it's slightly different. I think the other film that is, I guess, people are talking about quite a lot is Snow White. I think that's
had a whole
going to be an
controversy as well.
interesting one, because there's been quite a few remakes of Disney shows. Obviously, it's kind of blending in the theme of Disney, but
yeah, I'm not a fan of these remakes. I understand why they're doing it, because it's like, oh, we have a franchise, we can make more money out of it, but it just seems so uncreative. This is a time where you have Disney has probably more money than they've ever had in history, and they're not taking any risks, obviously because they don't want to take risks, because that's put the business more at risk. But they're not taking any risks of creating more new ideas or anything. Majority of movies that are put out by Disney, because obviously Disney Pixar is different from Disney itself, majority of movies are a lot of remakes or ideas taken from rides. Like Jungle Cruise was from the ride at Disneyland. You know, if you said to someone 20 years ago, what if we made a movie based on a ride at a theme park? They'd laugh at you. But nowadays, because it's almost like, how much money can we get out of one idea? And Disney Pixar's doing Toy Story 5 now. They're doing apparently they're doing Inside Out 2. I would just love to see Disney make some new movies. And I know there was Elemental, and they do their new movie every year or two. But still, they're not being very creative as they used to be. You look at early Pixar and they made some amazing movies. You look at Finding Nemo, The Incredibles, Toy Story, Monsters Inc., all of them. Great stories that other companies just couldn't replicate the magic that Disney created. You look at DreamWorks Shrek, amazing movie, brilliant movie, but it doesn't have that same movie magic that Disney can create in their films. And I would love to see Disney try to bring that back in their films. Try to cut down on the remakes, because obviously they're still going to be making remakes, and that's fine if they want to do that. But I'd love to see them take a step back from the remakes a little bit and focus more on new projects and new stories that they can come up with. Because then these new stories, in 20-30 years time, they can use these new stories to create good remakes.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah, and just to go back to the Meg real quick, that the budget was between 129 million and 139 million. So it's probably still in a loss right now once you factor in marketing, but it's probably going to end close to break even or a little bit of profit. But of course, it's not going to be as big a profit as Oppenheimer or Barbie or anything like that. But yeah, Tom, do you have any final thoughts?
People are still watching it though. Like,
yeah, exactly.
It's not done awful.
Yeah, it's not you know, some cinematic masterpiece, but it's just a fun, stupid movie that people can go to the cinema and just relax for a bit. while
Yeah.
they see a shark eat people. Yeah. Tom, you have any final thoughts before we wrap up this video?
Comment below which one's better out of the two films.
Yeah, Barbie or Oppenheimer? What are you guys watching? I've seen both, but I'm an Oppenheimer man myself. Yeah. Well, thank you everyone for watching. We'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.